Hey guys, what's going on? It's Matty Collins here, and in today's video, we're going to be checking out the new Sony ZV-E10 in relation to the Sony ZV-1 and talking about what the better camera is, specifically in vlogging capabilities. So without further ado, roll that intro. All right, a few things before we get into this. I am traveling right now. That's why I'm not in my normal studio and you see a bathroom behind me. But I am in Yangshuo, China, which is known for its hiking and climbing, like outdoor rock climbing, which I tried yesterday. My YouTube community has been reaching out with a lot of questions surrounding the ZV-1 and ZV-E10, and I just wanted to clarify a few things about this. Hold on, the hotel cleaner's here, Danisha. Waters. And we got fresh towels. All right, so first things first, I just wanted to get this out of the way. Sony is not reinventing the wheel with this Sony ZV-E10 camera, and it borrows a lot of things from the A6400. It is an APS-C size sensor, not the 1-inch sensor of the Sony ZV-1. In my opinion, the best part about the release of this camera is, funnily enough, not the camera itself, so not the ZV-E10. It's that Sony may have figured out their production delays, and with that, we might see in 2021 the Sony A7 IV. Woohoo! So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the following topics when discussing the Sony ZV-E10 and Sony ZV-1, even though they are somewhat intended for different users. All right, so first order of business, let's talk a little bit about the camera sensor. So on the APS-C line, like the Sony ZV-E10, it is a 24 megapixel sensor. And on the Sony ZV-1, I think you get up to 17 megapixels at its highest quality, and it also shoots JPEG and RAW. The size of the sensors are different as well. So the Sony ZV-E10 will use the APS-C size sensor, which is bigger than the Sony ZV-1's 1-inch sensor. But they both produce a good image. The one benefit to having a bigger sensor like the APS-C size on the Sony ZV-E10 is that you might get a little bit better background bokeh, which is just meaning that you're gonna have a more blurry background if you're focusing on a subject nice and close. Number 2 on our list is ergonomics. The Sony ZV-E10 is a bigger camera and it has a nice grip in the front, and because it's a bigger camera, the buttons are bigger and it's a little bit more fluid to use. This here is the Sony ZV-1 and it's a smaller camera and a little bit cumbersome if you have bigger hands. The two cameras share a lot of similarities, like the flip screen, product showcase mode, stabilization. It has the same mic and windscreen for it. It has the same tally light on the front to see if you're recording, and it has the older Sony menu systems. All right, item number 3, a lot of people are wondering what is the better vlogging camera, the new Sony ZV-E10 or the ZV-1? And unfortunately, I can't just say one or the other, but I can tell you the best parts of both of them. So the pros of the Sony ZV-E10 for vlogging is that it has an interchangeable lens function. So if you get like a Sony 10 to 18 millimeter lens, even with a crop, you're gonna get a wider field of view than the Sony ZV-1, which you're limited to 24 millimeters without a wide adapter on the front of it. The Sony ZV-E10 also wins because of that APS-C size sensor. You'll get a better image quality, and you're also gonna get better bokeh, which is that background blur when you're vlogging. Now, why does the Sony ZV-1 win for vlogging? Well, there's something called rolling shutter, and it's pretty bad on these APS-C sensors like the Sony ZV-E10 has. Rolling shutter just makes when you move, say you're vlogging like this, you're gonna get in the background kind of like a jello looking effect, and it's not very appealing to the eye. The next reason that the Sony ZV-1 would win for vlogging is, again, it doesn't have that field of view, but it does have better stabilization, probably because it has a smaller 1-inch sensor on it. Unfortunately, like I said, I can't tell you which is better. It just comes down to what you're willing to sacrifice. All right, so if I lost you, we are on point number 4, which is battery life. So the Sony ZV-E10 shares the same battery as the A6400, which gives you pretty good performance. In comparison, the Sony ZV-1 has a smaller battery life, and you only get about 30 to 40 minutes of 4K record time on that ZV-1. The downside to the new Sony ZV-E10 is that it doesn't have the beast of a battery that the A6600 has, and some of the full frame cameras like the A7 III. Item number 5, let's talk a little bit about price. The Sony ZV-E10 comes in at $699 for the body alone, or $799 US if you want it with that kit lens. For me personally, I've used that kit lens a lot and it's fine for very beginners, but I say skip that kit lens altogether and maybe just grab yourself the 10 to 18 vlogging lens if that's the intended purpose for purchasing this camera. I believe the Sony ZV-1 you can get on sale for about $649 right now, but remember, you don't need to purchase a separate lens with it. It comes with the 24 to 70 variable aperture 1.8 to 2.8, which is a really nice lens. It's nothing to write home about, but it's going to get the job done for you in most situations. Number 6, we talked a little bit about stabilization, and the Sony ZV-1 is better at stabilizing. It has the standard mode and the active stabilization, and the standard mode is actually quite good, and it doesn't narrow your field of view like the active stabilization does. So item number 7 is rolling shutter. And we talked about this a little bit already when we compared it to Jello. You know when you touch Jello and it jiggles? That kind of looks like the background of your image in the Sony ZV-E10 because of that APS-C sensor. The sensor is really good, don't get me wrong, but it's just notoriously bad for this rolling shutter, and it could turn some people off of purchasing this camera because it kind of makes you feel a little bit queasy or sick when you're watching the footage back. While we're on the topic of the rolling shutter, the Sony ZV-1 is really noticeably better at the Jello effect. So when you're moving the camera, it just looks more like a straight line as opposed to like a wobble in the background. So they've kind of figured out the rolling shutter on the ZV-1, but not quite yet on the APS-C sensor that is on the Sony ZV-E10. All right, item number 8, the moment of truth. Which camera should you buy, or should you buy the Sony ZV-E10? To me, it's pretty simple. The APS-C sensor on the Sony ZV-E10 is going to be better in low light situations. So if you often shoot in low light situations and you want the ability to upgrade your lenses down the road, the ZV-E10 is the best budget option for you. Now, if you're looking to buy these cameras, there's a chance that you're a beginner. So if you don't need that interchangeable lens and you don't often shoot in low light situations, then I highly recommend the Sony ZV-1 that I shoot on quite a bit. All right, so that wraps up today's video. I just wanted to say a big shout out. My channel is kind of getting traction now, so that's really exciting. I'm well over 100 subscribers, on the way to 200, so thank you so much for your support. I am still traveling for the next 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm going to try my best to get more content out to you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. We'll see you in the next video. Matty out. Peace.